So for a set of pharmacy students, sir, have you addressed pharmacy students earlier?
Sir, here at the university, I work with a couple of pharma startups. So I've been mentoring them on scaling their entire product development to the next stage. So it's a group of people who are developing soluble sanitary napkins, because we understand that the entire biodegradableness towards the entire function is too high. So it's right now in the prototype stage. We have been doing a testing and we've got good results till now. So the next step is to scale the product and see that how does it work for a larger audience.
Okay. Nowadays, now at graduation level only, we are inculcating this entrepreneur mindset to our students by taking all such kind of the workshops or maybe the sessions. Earlier, you know, when students graduate and join the MBA, at that time, students get a touch of all these subjects. But start from graduation first year onwards, we have planned such kind of sessions based on entrepreneurship or maybe intellectual property rights or maybe design thinking or maybe whatever your today's topic, that is prototype design and development, isn't it? From BPharm first year onwards.
Correct.
Yes, very good morning, madam. You are mute.
Good morning, Sandeep. Good morning, Prashant.
Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. Good morning. Happy
Good
morning.
morning,
Good morning, Varsha. Thank you. I'm especially thanks to both of you and Sandeep for making all these sessions possible for student. And I just heard last one sentence what Sandeep said, that what we do from second year onward students is a various type of exposure we try to give to student in terms of understanding, so that it's kind of building brick by brick slowly the foundation for some of those students who would be in future be the innovator or the entrepreneur.
Yes, sure, ma'am. In fact, it's a
Thank
pleasure for us to get associated with you, ma'am, and presenting these sessions to the students, where me and Prashant both work on budding leadership. So that gives us immense pleasure to be here today, ma'am.
That's great. Thank you very much, Prashant and Varsha.
Madam, can we start the session? Your due
Yeah,
permission?
I already started, isn't it?
No, we will just formally
Yeah.
we will start.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, Manasvi, Saurabh, we can go ahead.
Good morning to the honorable guests, respected principal, ma'am, faculty members, and my fellow mates. Myself, Anushka Shah, the General Member of IIC. It gives me an immense pleasure to extend a very warm welcome to all of you present here to the workshop on prototype and process design and development. The Institute Innovation Council, an initiative created by the Indian government, is conducting this workshop. It hosts events and lectures on topics such as startups, innovation, intellectual property rights, and entrepreneurship. The goal of the committee is to actively promote a positive culture to build a startup ecosystem and encourage innovation. Before we start the event, I would like to invite our principal, ma'am, Dr. Munira Momin, to enlighten us with a few words. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Anushka, and good morning to our both speakers, guests today, as well as the BNCP staff, faculty, and students. So very warm welcome to BNCP, and it says that innovation starts from school and universities. It is that thinking which is important. It is the way you think, the way you observe things, and the way you have been given platform to interact with outside personalities who influences our students a lot. Definitely the teachers influence our students, but when we invite guests and when we invite experts, when they share their stories, when they talk to our students, they inspire our students a lot. And when we thought of IIC and entrepreneurship, we wanted to make sure that we, being a minority institute, private institute, we have seen a lot of students going into business. What we were looking at, that this student should be given a platform and experts should be invited so that their skill, their thought process, their design thinking is kind of more groomed and more outcome based. And that was the whole purpose. We started with IIC and we made sure that we follow all the government of India's guidelines, which ultimately helps shape up students' thought process. And when we talk about the design thinking, I always say that it's just the same thing. You look in a different way. It could be the same outcome, but the way you reach the outcome would be different if you think in a different way. So this kind of platform and this kind of interactions make students think a little bit out of the box in a different manner. And that's the whole purpose. So I'm sure today's workshop on prototype design and the development by Prashant as well as Varsha is going to definitely help. I hope it's okay, Prashant. I call you and Varsha with the first name.
Yeah, ma'am, absolutely fine.
All right.
Sure, ma'am.
So thank you very much, both of you, for coming over today and interacting with our student. And this pandemic, I consider as a boon for education, though the education sector was the one who was most affected and most neglected. I put it that way. Students and teachers struggled, institutes struggled, and what we looked at and what we found that this pandemic has come to us as a boon, as an opportunity to meet number of experts to whom we would probably not able to invite them physically for offline platform, and probably if they would wish to come, they would not be able to come because of the distance, because of a lot of other activities. In just think of Mumbai, if you are living in south of Mumbai and if I invite you to a 10 o'clock session, you would be thinking twice, because you will have to start at 8 o'clock, and by that, if you want to go back to your 2 o'clock meeting, it would be quite difficult. But this online platform has enabled all the situations which we could not think of earlier, pre-pandemic. So this is an opportunity, and I request all my students to take this opportunity and learn maximum from all the guests whom we invite. So with this, thank you, Varsha and Prashant, and thanks my entire ISO, BNCP, and Sandeep for planning various different kind of activity with a out of the box thinking. I see that the kind of speakers, the kind of experts, the kind of topics which you are selecting and your team is selecting is excellent. And at BNCP, we never had this kind of opportunity before. As I said, it is because of the offline platform. The online has made it possible. So thank you very much. And with this, once again, welcome to BNCP, and we look forward to see all of you physically too. So do visit college as and when it is possible for both of you.
Sure, ma'am.
Thank
Pleasure
you.
is all ours.
Thank you. Over to you, Akshata Beta.
Thank you so much for this warm welcome, ma'am. And today's session majorly will be conducted by Prashant. And yes, we look forward to seeing you there with the students along. And one thing I wish to say, ma'am, what you rightly said, the students have brought up such interesting topics that when it comes directly from them, the delivery, that when we make it, it really makes it personalized. And hence we are also enjoying this space, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Yes,
very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for your precious words of wisdom. I would now like to invite Sandeep sir to say a few words before we start the event.
Yes, thank you, Anushka. And thank you very much, Principal Madam, for your continuous motivation as well as boost to our committee, Institution Innovation Council. And from next year onwards, maybe when we will enter in ISC 5. So at that time, definitely we will try to arrange all the sessions, majority on offline mode. So that will be the interaction will be the better again. And also I welcome Prashant sir as well as Varsha Madam to have such a wonderful set of topics for our students. And in today's session, what I understand generally the prototype is yeah, this is just a representation of maybe the design or maybe any product or maybe any process which we are to produce before the final solution of a particular problem. And definitely,
I can add one more thing,
yeah,
Sandeep. It's
yeah,
even prototype of your thought process, the way
yeah,
you arrange your thought process to reach to something that could
yeah.
also be the prototype.
Yes, yes. Yes, and definitely we will try to understand from sir what are the benefits and what will be the overall strategy on a particular workshop on prototype design and business development. So over to you, Anushka.
Thank you, sir. I would now like to express our gratitude to our esteemed speaker, Mr. Prashant Iyer, who has accepted our invitation to preside over this workshop. Mr. Prashant Iyer is a leadership coach and trainer with an MBA in Human Resources and International Marketing from IMI Belgium, Masters in Leadership Science, and a certified coach from ICR. Over the years, Mr. Prashant has trained and coached many entrepreneurs and top leaders from across industries and sectors. He has authored 3 research papers based on Kautilya Arthashastra, specializing on strategy and leadership in marketing. Some of the core expertise of Mr. Prashant are leadership development, change management, training on having a champion mindset, psychology of sales. So, without any further ado, let's begin with the workshop. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Anushka. Thank you, Sandeep sir. I am sharing my screen. Got a small deck to share. I believe you are able to see the deck.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Perfect.
sir.
So I'm not able to see. I'm assuming that you're able to see the screen. In case I'm going too fast, one of you could let me know so that we are at the same pace. So basically what I've done is on the prototyping, because the most important factor for any such kind of prototype and design is the main component. But before we start with the prototype, I would also want to throw a little light saying that how do you do idea validation? How do you create your partnerships? How do you look at the cost structures? Because prototyping, the majority of the prototypes succeed or fail depending on the costs which are involved. How do you brand your idea? How do you create a marketing pitch to take your idea to the investor or to the market? And finally, how do you grow as an organization? Because any prototype which we are trying to create is to have a focus saying that this idea needs to solve some problem. So with that, let me dwell and take you to the next step, or that how do we look at the idea validation? Because we get plenty of ideas, but we really don't know whether these ideas give us the kind of confidence of making a difference. So for any idea, there is a research framework which happens, and typically this is how it comes. You do a self-assessment of your idea. You understand whether your business idea has got strength. You validate that idea in 4 levels. You do an idea validation, you do a personal validation, you do a market validation, and then you do a financial validation. And once you've done this, you either refine your existing idea or reconsider the idea, because not every idea which you get in your mind is scalable for a business proposition. And once you're ready after the refinement, you now do the next step, which is your business planning. We all need to understand that every single idea, that is the starting point of every business. But that is not the ending point, because there are many more steps which are involved in the entire process. So let us understand that how do you validate an idea? Because there is a particular framework to understand whether an idea has got commercial accessibility or not. The first step, in an idea creation is a business idea that solves a problem. So when you are having an idea, you need to validate whether it is solving an existing problem. So let's take some examples. Gopro cameras, it came to solve a problem because the traditional cameras, they had a lot of shake. And in GoPro, it's an action-oriented camera. It is waterproof, so you could do underwater photography, you could do motion photography. Existing problem, Uber and Ola, it's become a part of our life. There was times when we had to sit and beg to the taxi walas or to the auto walas to take us from A point to next. But when Uber came in, the entire problem got solved. At a tip of a button, on an app, you can book your cars. It will come on time. You'll know where it is being tracked. The entire transparency was built to solve a problem. Third is M-Swipe. We're in a generation of a pandemic, and pandemic we had a lot of apps, the Google Pays, the Phone Pays, really taking us by storm. But M-Swipe was the first revolutionary retail product which came as a POS for the retailers, where you could go and swipe a card, and you did not need the traditional POS system. They had a small mobile app and they had a small device which allowed the retailers to transact. Second is, you need to look at ideas which solve the problems that becomes a problem. So we need to solve things that become a problem. Now, what kind of problems? Today, if you look at Tesla is trying to solve a problem of the fuels, because the fossil fuels are getting extended. The petroleum has got a lot of pollution related problems. So Tesla is trying to solve this particular problem by bringing in EV cars. Organic vegetables, or organic fruits and bakery. Today, if you look at the kind of chemical usage has been very rampant in our vegetable or in our fruit industry. And now there is a new segment which is trying to cater to this segment of using organic manure and, the organic farming, which is taking by storm. In fact, organic bakery in Kerala, you have the world's first, if I may say, a bakery which is using organic products, no chemicals. It has got very limited shelf life, but on a prototype design, it has started getting good traction. Third is, we need to understand that adapt to evolving needs. Now, it's very important that whether our idea is helping the needs to get solved. So let's take some examples. The entire from CDs to SD cards to now cloud, everything is going to evolve the needs which we have in today's times. Second is, Udemy. We all know that earlier to do courses or join a particular stream was very cumbersome because, given the limited space of time, today Udemy has got the maximum number of courses from diverse faculty. Sitting in India, I could attend a course which is being conducted by an Harvard faculty, learn and enrich my knowledge. So it's very important that such kind of platforms help you to upskill your entire skill set without leaving your existing organizations or without your existing school curriculum. UPI has really redefined the entire way payment structuring has been done. Now, if you look at the prototyping and the design development, which is the topic, UPI has become a game changer in the financial ecosystem. Prior to UPI, we had to carry lots of cash or it was a card. Now, I'm not sure that how many of us don't even use GPays and the latest technology because it has become so convenient that you have stopped using the physical currency and you're more preferring the digital currency. A solution that saves money. Now, any idea which is going to help you save money, it's always appreciated by the market and you will definitely get the investor backing. CFL, before the CFL, it was the traditional bulbs which is there. Using CFL, we save close to 23% of electricity, which is getting saved. So in return, you're also saving the electricity cost as well as your electricity bill. Walmart or Brand Factory. Most of us shop in Brand Factory for the attractive discounts we get, or at Walmart, or if I have to say in the Indian context, the Walmarts or the Flipkarts or the Amazons are definitely there, which is helping us save time and money. Fifth is make lives of people easier. So if your idea is going to help that, definitely you will see that your idea is going to scale. Coffee machine with timers. It is helping us to understand how much time does it take for a coffee to make. It is making our lives easier. Water drinking and fitness app. Now we're talking about pharmacy. So, the entire world of the 1mgs where I'm sitting at home, I've got the technicians coming at home for my blood test. I don't need to go to a laboratory to get my blood test done. The technician comes at home, verifies the entire part, the entire reports comes on my mail, which has become more easier and very cumbersome free to do my day-to-day things. Fresh to Home and Practo app. No, we are all aware that how Fresh to Home is one of the leading companies in the south, mainly dominating in Kerala, where C products have been delivered at home and fresh to home. So the entire concept itself is less than 4 hours, right from the catchment, it comes to your home. Practo app is one big thing which is really developing well on the telemedicine side, saying that how do we get quality doctors coming in from remote locations, how do we access them. In the pandemic, we have seen that Practo had seen sizable traction because we couldn't physically go and meet our doctors, and Practo was a good solution where we could interact with the doctors and get consultation. Sixth is, ready-to-eat meals. You may also wonder that how did ready-to-eat meals came in the concept? It was a design thinking and innovation for a wartime product. It was first introduced in the World War II when the entire fighting was on. How do you nourish your soldiers and keep them agile, ready to eat meals were the concept. Today it is now replacing a traditional meals because we living in an urban society. If you've got short of time, we prefer eating that. An idea which will fulfill an unexpected need. Now, this is very critical because any idea which requires scale has to really solve this particular problem. Now, let's see what did happen was mass sanitizers, COVID test kits. I'm sorry, there is a spelling mistake. So, kits, which was very rapidly utilized during the pandemic. India, from being a zero nation on such products, became a fulfilled nation, giving out quality stuff to the world. Makes the task effortless. Tedious tasks which are effortless. We all love to have our task being easy, and the entire Microsoft Teams app is one clear thing. When we started out, Google Meets or Zoom, and now Microsoft Teams, all these are good products which are trying to meet the online regulations in a much easier fashion. Cleaning and other household services. If you look at the kind of products which are being developed, Mr. Muscle to name a few, or the Tide, the entire part on the laundry side, these are again creating huge difference in people's life. ID Fresh Vada Maker. Now we all like vada. We know that sitting in Nanavati College, you get good access to quality foods. But what about those people who do not get such kind of thing? ID Fresh created a vada maker. They created a packaging which allowed to produce quality vada sitting at home, which is being traditionally done in the restaurant style. Google Forms and CRMs. Google Forms are an easy way to collect data, to understand and sort feedback if you need to do feedback analysis. Customer relationship management softwares, which are very essential for any business. These are really creating a good, the entire effort to store data is becoming easy. Last but not the least, turn your passion or hobby into your business. Now, how much is it possible to do that? Glass painting is an example which is really catching the world by storm, because art is predominantly getting dominated. Writing, training, teaching skills. Me and Varsha are a product of this. We are here into this teaching profession. I may call as teaching because we still consider ourselves as learning students. That whatever we learned in our life and from the other businesses, we are trying to give back to the society. Now let's understand, how do you validate an idea? Now, when I said that the following are the steps, there is also a process of idea validation. You need to get honest feedback before you launch your startup. And that is, before you launch a startup, prototyping and idea validation plays a very important role, whether your startup is going to be a success or be a failure. So the first step is, we need to understand that what problem or need is solved by this idea. Now, these are the 7-8 questions and every entrepreneur should try answering that when he's trying to create his own idea before hitting the prototype stage. Second is, like fever. Paracetamol was an idea which came out to help fever. Timely wake up, alarm time pieces. I'm still talking a little old because today none of us use alarms. It's either on the mobile or on your wearable devices. Speedy calculation, we came out with calculator. Communication and movement, mobile phone has made this thing possible. Does this idea or substitution exist already? Now, we always need to understand that whether your idea is already existing in the market or is it a new one. So what is your differentiator? First is, watches. From watches, now we have gone to wearables. Every one of us like to get tracked on how much active time we had, what has been your burn ratio, or what is your calorie burn, how many steps you walked, or if you're swimming or if you're working out, what is your total calorie burn. We all like to get tracked to understand, are we progressing in a day-to-day life or not. Geo, when Geo came, it redefined the entire market of data. Prior to Geo entering the market, we all have paid close to 250-300 rupees only for 1 GB of data. Now 1.5 GB of data is available every day at a very throwaway price to us. Now that's what an incumbent idea comes and redefines your market. Third is, we all had gum. So if you go back to the school days, if you remember, we had the Joker gum. And Joker gum was very sticky. By the time you utilize it and you try to finish your task, your hands it's all messy. And next came in a product called Fevikwik, which is very easy to use, and it came like a lipstick form. So the adaptability was very nice and is still dominating the market. We all know that how did we move from cable TV? We had the antennas first, then came the cable TV, then came the dish TV, and now it's gone to smart TV. The entire transition in the same market. It's in the TV market, but we've seen 3 levels of disruption already happening. And now the next step is seeing that how do you utilize Android and how do you get Netflix at home. It's all possible because of the smart TV. Again, Walkman to MP3 through Spotify. Walkman was the first device which revolutionized music. Then came the MP3. So, we had earlier the cassettes, then we had the CDs, then we had MP3 songs on your iPods, which was very popular. Now everything is gone to Spotify. We no longer carry separate devices. Our mobile phone has become an all device in one. So this is what your ideas in the same market can create a revolution. Next is, if it does exist, how can you improve the idea to satisfy the market better? The third question is very important because, if your idea is the same offering, it has to make a difference. Otherwise, it will not cut ice among the investors as well as your consumers. The first thing is, Cemex, it's a $13 billion company, 40,000 plus employees, and you'll be surprised of the product which they use. It's a ready mix. So from 3 hours delivery to 20 minutes of delivery. This is a cement technology, and we all know that why it is very important, because transportation and scaling of large projects require good quality cement at a very faster pace, and Cemex was a solution which came and revolutionized this idea. Bluetooth speakers to Amazon Echo. Now, we've all been fans of Amazon Echo. We like in the morning when we talk to someone and we do not sit and type a particular song, we just give instructions, and Amazon Echo is there at a service to help you. QWERTY keyboards to iPhone. We all have been using phones now. I am sure that 100% of our audience would all be using smartphones without a QWERTY keyboard. But we all need to know that when the entire revolution started in the mobile phone, QWERTY keyboard was the norm, which iPhone came and redefined the entire smartphone ecospace. For this, if it does not exist, is there a market for it? Now, these are the 4 fundamental questions one needs to understand when you are validating your idea, because if we don't do market validation, it really fails to bring up devices or bring up products and solutions which is not meeting the market need. I have often witnessed that in the startup ecosystem, we feel that a particular idea can make a huge difference. Without validating our idea, we go and invest in the company, we go and invest in the product. But when it comes to a good state where you want to raise funds, and then you understand that there is no market for this. A classic example being Pager. Pager came to revolutionize, but it didn't have a market and it got shaped out very soon. Similarly, we have got many such products. If the market condition is not right, if the market validation demand is not right, it will tend to collapse and it will go down. Now, for any entrepreneur, once you validate your idea and you feel confident that your validation of the idea is good, but working in isolation is always a huge risk. You always need partners who can countermand your entire idea or support the idea to scale. Because for any business, when I'm talking about from the entrepreneurship side, a good partner makes or breaks your idea. We had Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak who together believed in the concept, and that is the reason iPhone created history. If you didn't have a good partner, even a good idea will not see the light of the day, and it'll end in the Tata rooms. So let's understand that how do we bring good partners to our entire ecosystem? How do we ensure that we're able to balance our entire workflow? The first thing is, find a partner that can bring skills and experience to the business. Because it's very important that, since we are all in college, typically we look at our partners or our existing friends. We may share a good vibe with them, we spend quality time, but we need to validate whether they're bringing the required skill sets for the business or not. Find a partner that shares your values, your entrepreneurial spirit and vision. It's very essential that the idea which you have conceived needs to have the right ecosystem to really scale the world. If you don't have similar people sharing your own values, it is very difficult for that product or that idea to really come up in the market for a large consumer demand. Third is look for a partner without a lot of personal baggage. Now, in the partnership world, this is very important, because if they're going to carry a lot of personal baggage, your business is going to collapse. When I say a lot of personal baggage, they shouldn't have a negative reputation in the market, or they shouldn't have vices which is not conducive for your business. Because, for example, if they are into alcohol and you are into a pharma care, your value system is going to go for a toss. So you need to ensure that you are having partners who are right-minded and like-minded. Fourth is find a partner that can offer resources and credibility to your business. Now, it is very important that the credibility side is being taken care when your visibility side of your business is not there. Visibility and credibility are two core components of any business if they need to scale that idea to a large level. We buy Tata products because of the credibility associated. In fact, one example which I can quote was 1mg. So I recently did a complete family healthcare checkup using 1mg app, and the technicians came home. When the technician said that earlier, when it was only 1mg and not Tata 1mg, they used to do a business of around 5 to 6 testings or testing requests per day. Now that number has jumped to 12 to 15. So that is what Tata as a brand brings to your business. So tomorrow, if you're having an idea and you get a good partner like Tata investing or backing your idea, you will see a lot of scale happening in the business side without spending a lot of money to build your credibility. Fifth is choose a partner that is financially stable. Now, financially stable partners are very important for business because in business, it is like a roller coaster. Not every day you're going to make money. Not every day you're going to earn your top dollars coming in. So you need to ensure that you need to have a financial backup because your business is going to take time before it starts getting returns. So you shouldn't have a partner who's going to financially bleed you in the entire ecosystem. Sixth is choose a partner that practices good personal and business ethics. Now, the recent Shark Tank episode clearly brought out the downside when you are not having a good value system, when you're not in the right ecospace of your own personal business ethics, because it plays a big important role. When you get your top money, your value system and your ethics should be in place to ensure that you do not compromise on these basic credentials for any strong business. Seventh is respect is a necessary element to forming a successful partnership. Do not form partnerships with people who do not have mutual respect for each other. You need to respect your partner and you should also expect the same thing back, because if there is domination from one side, those partnerships do not last long and your last but not the least, we should always plan ahead. In case you break up with your business partner, what is your exit plan? Who's going to own those proprietary rights? Who's going to own the prototypes? Who's invested in the design thinking and idea? Who's going to own the patents and the IPs which will be created as a part of this business outcome? In case there is going to be a settlement, how are you going to settle in an amicable fashion which does not destroy business? I think the eighth one is the most common element which I have found in my 4 years of business consulting expertise, that if you don't get a right partner and if your exit is not planned, the entire organization tends to suffer. No matter what kind of brilliant game-changing idea you have, if this is not in place, it definitely becomes very tough to go to the next level. Now let's understand that when you're choosing a quality partner, what are the top 10 qualities needed which matches to your ecosystem? This is also applicable to the founder entrepreneur, because when you're looking to design and develop a particular business, you also need to exhibit the same qualities which you're expecting from your partner or from your stakeholder to come in. The first thing is you need to be passionate. You need to be passionate about your idea. You need to carry that passion, and which is trying to make a difference in people's life. Goal of any business cannot be money. The moment we start saying that I am looking at an X valuation of my company, or I'm looking at an X funds to help to my company, we will lose that plot. Businesses are open to solve people's problem. And when you're solving people's problem, the outcome is going to be the money, fame, and name which you're going to get. Second is reliability. Are you reliable? Is your product reliable? Because your products are going to be reliable only if you as an entrepreneur we have reliability. If you're not reliable to your words, through your actions, people will lose trust much faster. So it's very important that if you're proclaiming that your product is a world-class product, and you need to exhibit by using the same product and also be reliable to its functions and features which you're promising to the market. Third is compatibility. Are you compatible with your people? Are you compatible with your partners? Are you compatible with your investors? Because if you're having compatibility issues, and when the venture capitalists come in with your top money, you will face huge challenge in the compatible issues. If you're not compatible, there are higher chances where your investors will lock you out and you will get thrown out of your own organization. The recent episode of Zilingo clearly defines that how a venture capitalist and how if your qualities and business ethics are not in place, things can go wrong. Fourth is fiscal responsibility. Now, as a startup entrepreneur, we need to lead the entire thing by responsible behavior. Now, if you get a $1 million funding, do not go buy the latest car or do not go and spend money on frivolous things because it is people's money. If you're using your own money, it's not a problem. But from an investor standpoint of view, if I'm investing money and I see you splurge on the luxury items, I as an investor will hold you responsible for the physical discipline which is needed in the organization. Fifth is creativity. As an entrepreneur, you need to be creative enough to solve the people's problem, come up with innovative thinking methodology, how it can create a difference in the people's life. Sixth is you need to be open-minded, because when you're working with people, if we are close-minded, it becomes very difficult to solve problems. The entire idea of prototyping and design development is to first
I think the network issue is there. You are not audible.
Yeah, seems like his network has got stuck. Just let's be there for a minute. Yeah, he's back.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Got
Yes.
Okay. So I'll again repeat the seventh point. You need to be comfortable with risk, because risk, there is a nice saying in the 1992 scam, risk se ishq hona chahiye, because if you cannot take risk, being in the entrepreneur ecosystem is very difficult, because you never know what can go wrong. But you need to mitigate risk. So you need to become comfortable with risk-taking ability. Eighth is you need to build resilience.
Excuse me, Prashant.
Yeah?
Your screen is not visible. Huh?
It's not visible? Okay, I'll again reshare.
Yeah. It's visible, madam. Varsha, madam, it's visible.
Is it? Okay.
Yes.
I missed. Okay. Yeah, Prashant.
Okay.
Continue. Sorry.
No problem.
Okay, reshare it, sir, now.
Now is it visible?
Yes. All right.
Yes. Thanks, Prashant.
No problem. So we were on resilience. You need to build resilience to sustain the shocks which you're going to get in the business. We need to build resilience to handle the volatility of the market. You may come up with a world-class product, but if the market is not ready, we need to understand that how do we sustain it and how do we have resilience and remain committed towards our idea to scale it to the next level. Ninth is ability to resolve conflicts. Now, as entrepreneurs, one of the key roles you will always face is conflicts with your research and development team. They will recommend a certain thing. You feel it is not viable for the investment. So you need to mitigate, and you should be in a position to resolve conflicts. There could be conflicts with the government in terms of licensing or in terms of product development. You need to understand that where is the mid path? How do we ensure that we are all on the same page? And last but not the least, the ability to build strong teams, that's very important. Strong relationships is very important, because end of the day, entrepreneurship is all about a team play. You alone can always find the star standing tall, but it's always a team which wins. With that, now let's proceed to the next level, understanding that what is required on the cost side, because for any prototyping, cost is going to play a big role when we try to develop such prototypes. And when we're talking cost, it plays a very important role whether your prototype is in a profitable manner or you are able to create a difference when you show it to your investors, because at the end of the day, costing matters a lot. So, when we work on cost, these are the typical costs you will always encounter. You will have a fixed cost, you will have a variable cost, which will be the total cost. What will be your average cost of production? What will be your marginal cost? What are your margins when you're developing such ecosystem? So we need to prepare a financial feasibility study, which is mainly for 4 parts. The first is determining your startup cost. What is your startup going to cost when you're designing and developing the first phase? Preparing a profit plan. If you look at any investor reports today, or if you read any latest news, every single investor is now putting a lot of emphasis on sustainability. Your venture has to become profitable in a given space of time. It cannot happen that we keep pumping in money through valuations and there is a high cash burn without seeing a profit in the entire ecosystem. Fourth is preparing cash flow projections. Now, as pharma students, we may not be used to such terminologies, but cash flow is something where you're predicting what is going to be your outflow of money every month when you're developing either your prototype or your entrepreneur business. Fourth is assessing the return on invested capital. Now, for any business, the capital investment, if there is no ROTI, if I may call, return on time and investment, your entire venture is going to suffer a big setback. So the first thing is, what kind of costs are associated in a startup? So the typical startup costs are, purchase of land and building. Today, it may happen when you're setting up your laboratory, you need to understand where you're going to set up your lab. What is the acquisition cost of the equipments which are needed? The licenses and permits which are involved when you are starting up your venture. So if you're into a research lab which is trying to analyze on the next serums, definitely you need those licensing and permits before you even start prototyping or start testing out. What are the deposit required for office space leases? Because you need to have space to set up your entire lab, understand where you're going to develop your prototype. Initial purchase of materials. Now, this is very crucial because if your cost of acquisition is too high, the time of prototyping, because you cannot build a prototype in the first go. There will be a lot of refinements. So you need to always understand to keep the cost in check so that it is possible to build good prototypes which can scale the market. A legal and accounting fees for incorporation. So are you an LLP company or it is going to be a private limited or a proprietorship? There are fees involved when you set up your startup. The office furniture and supplies, the marketing research, market research is going to consume a lot of time and money because when you're developing your prototypes, you need to do in-depth market research to understand whether your idea is validated and does it have a market or not. Employee wages, you cannot operate without a good set of employees. So you need to ensure that their wages are being paid and they're able to develop. You're able to advertise your product because when you go to seek funds from an investor and if they've never heard about your concept or your product, chances are very low where you get a good funding from them. Last but not the least, insurance premiums, because you need to insure your laboratories if you're into scientific testing, because if something goes wrong or if there is a blast which occurs or is there any damage to the equipment, we need to ensure that those are being covered through our insurance. Otherwise, to again redo the entire startup will cost a bomb. So many of these costs are one-time expense, but they will need funding upfront before the business begins operation. So before you start your startup or you develop your idea, you need to factor these elements because there is an upfront starting up cost when you start this entire idea. Next is, preparing a profit plan. So what is my projected sales and expense? What is my break-even point? When will my idea actually help me to start getting my first revenue? Preparing cash flow projections. So, projected cash flows, what is going to be my monthly outflow? What money will I get? When will I get funding from my investor? Will my investor be ready to fund the money? Or do I need to bootstrap? Where is the money going to come? We need to be very sure. Where the money is going to go is also very critical because that will determine on whether you are profitable or not. Fourth is, determining the return on invested capital. So there is always a payback period. Now, for any business, a payback period can revolve anywhere between as low as 1 year to as high as even 10 years. Because if there are turnkey projects, let's say you're trying to develop the next big serum or the next big vaccine which is going to make you immune, definitely the payback period is going to be longer. But investors prefer shorter payback periods because, end of the day, they are going to get the returns of money in that fashion. And that's one of the reasons why certain kind of investments which are being developed by the defense, it takes a longer period to develop a missile or to develop some technology which is going to revolutionize the entire way the world is going to see. So the payback period is going to differ. And also your investments and the entrepreneurs in that ecosystem they are going to differ. Now let's come to understand that how do you develop prototypes? Now you've got your idea validated, you've got good partners and shareholders with you who are committed to making this prototype, you've evaluated your cost. Now let's understand that how do you develop your prototype and what are the steps involved and what is the strategy we need to adopt? So the first thing is, you need to understand that prototyping is an experimental process where design teams implement ideas into tangible forms from paper to digital. Now every idea gets actually written on a paper, we validate. Now the prototyping is the team which is going to show how your product or how your service is going to look like. A team builds prototype on varying degrees of fidelity to capture design concepts. Now, if you look at, let's say, iPhone, we had multiple prototypes being developed even before the first actual phone came in place. So it's to understand how do we fit in those camera elements? How do we ensure that the RAM is steady? In prototyping, the case study which you should definitely study is the iPod. The iPod actually was the first revolutionary product which came out from the market need. And today, unfortunately, after a good 17 years, iPod is being phased out, but it still has got the numismatic and novelty factor. And there are still lifelong fans who believe in the iPod technology. And today, if you look at all our phones, most of the phones act like an iPod. With prototypes, you can refine and validate your designs so your brand can release the right products. Now, it is very important that your prototyping has to succeed before you mass scale your entire product, because you cannot have the scale of the product without actually seeing success. To see success, your prototypes needs to be accepted in the market. It needs to validate and follow the government norms and principles before you get your licensing to produce in mass scale. And regardless of the fidelity, most prototypes have 5 distinct stages. First is the defining stage, where it defines the moment. Second is the focusing on features. So, what feature is this entire product going to come out? Third is your production stage. Fourth is your testing stage. And fifth is presenting or going to the market. Now, if you pick up the latest episode of Ola, where the Ola EVs are coming, so they defined what it was trying to do. They focused on those features, and then they went into production. And now with testing and they're refining the product, you will have certain setbacks, certain feedbacks coming from your customers. Then you refine it and again represent that in the market. Now, there are 3 essentials when we are trying to do successful prototyping. The first is, speed is everything. You wouldn't use your first sketch as a definitive solution to a problem, because if you do not have speed, so for example, you are somebody who's trying to create a difference in healthcare by developing products which are not existing in the market or bettering the product, you need to have speed in whatever you do. You cannot be taking 1 or 2 years or 3 years of time to develop a prototype, because by then the market side would have changed and your product or your solution becomes very redundant. Second is keep it small. When using prototypes, often I see that there are a lot of hiccups we tend to overdo and create more prototypes. Third, you always need to understand that these prototypes are not for production. Prototypes help you to evolve the design elements before you get into mass production. So let us also understand, what are the 5 goals of new product development, because it is very important to understand how are the steps, what do we do in the entire ecosystem. So typically this is a prototype model. We start with requirement gathering. Then we get into a quick decision whether the requirements which we have or not is right. The prototype development, we build a prototype, we evaluate our customers, we refine, and again we go to the next phase. So let's say after the first phase, if your prototype has got acceptance by the customer, now we get into the design elements. Once we understand the design, we implement those designs, we do testing of that product, and then we do maintenance before you go to the final stage of development of scaling your prototype to a mass level consumer product. So first is, once your prototyping is done, you validate your customer demand, so that you save your resources to understand whether your prototype has got enough market or not. Second is test the technical feasibility and set your course. Now, if you look at when the EV bikes started coming out, or when we had EVA, because Mahindra EVA was the first EV car which came into existence, they did not scale up because they didn't find the technical feasibility of having a large resource. So they never scaled into multiple units to incur a lot of losses in their entire ecosystem. Third is improve your product aesthetics and meet customer demand. Now, if you look at Ola, S1 Pro is a classic example of how they are trying to develop the product aesthetics which meets the customer demands. Fourth is showcase to your investor during fundraising to gain their support. Now, if you do not have ready-made products or ready-to-market products, it is very difficult for your investor to back your thoughts with a good amount of funds. Fifth is send a sample to a manufacturer to minimize production cost. Now, whenever we come up with production costs, a prototype is going to help us in making better decisions, in terms of design development, in terms of the product durability. And this matters a lot because end of the day, every rupee saved is a rupee earned. Once this is done, now we need to look at how do we brand your prototype and how do we make your product a more consumer oriented brand so that you're able to scale to the market and reach out to the potential customers. So, the quality branding which happens now, not put any single name, but I'm very sure that every single logo which you're seeing, even without the company credentials, you know what they are meant and what kind of difference they do. So this is the power of brand aesthetics and why your prototypes, once they face branding and marketing, plays a very important role before you take it to the market. Please understand, what are the branding strategies and how do we define? Now, the brand is nothing but it is a component of 4 clear stages. It is your marketing communication which plays a role, what kind of culture your company is developing, how are your operations, and how do your product and services meet the customer demands. So you have to always be consistent in its messaging and design, reinforcing the position, promise, and personality at each touch point. Because it matters a lot that if I don't have brand uniqueness, my product could be mistaken for some other company and we may lose the market credentials. So these are some of the 4 steps one needs to understand that how do you develop a successful brand. We define how we want to be perceived. So, customer having finished your product, how should he perceive you? How do you want them to describe their experience? Now, we all know that all the Apple fans, they buy world-class product at very exorbitant rates. But if you look at the feature element, it is not standing tall to the latest Androids. But because of the culture of owning an Apple, it has got the pristine luxury element towards it. And we feel that we've got the world's best technology. Apple had a clear philosophy of keeping it simple and bringing in latest cutting edge technology and having a very foolproof device where it cannot be hacked by the external people. They keep communicating this promise about creating the wow element. And they're always consistent when they revolve around this entire ecosystem. So when we are looking at brand positioning, we need to understand that where is my product going to fit in? How am I going to differentiate from my competitors? Am I going to be the largest company, or am I going to be the fastest company, or am I going to be the cheapest brand or cheapest product? It all determines of how your positioning is going to be. A good example is Tata Nano. Tata Nano came as an affordable car, but by the time the marketing communication went out, it came as a cheapest car. And now we don't want to use a cheapest car because car is more towards a luxury element. Nobody wants to use cheap products. So we've got to be very clear of how our brand positioning is going to be and where we're going to capture which market. Now, I'll again take an example because it will give us understanding on how brand positioning works. Now, if you look at luxury and 2 seats, the first car which comes to your mind is a Porsche 911. If you look at 2 seats and looking at an economy where you don't have Mini Cooper fits in that budget. If you look at economy and family, it's always Volvo, which is a safe car, and we like to do that. But if you look at luxury and family, then you probably use a BMW Tourer. So this is how the entire brand positioning evolves in a way which helps our brand to sustain in the eyes of the market. So branding is an easy way to identify your customer and how does he recognize and how does he wants to get associated with your brand. It is more just than a logo, because when we evolve, we start understanding of how a particular communication happens in the eyes of the customer. We need to also understand, once your branding is done, your prototyping is done, what is your marketing strategy? How are you going to take this to the market? Is there a market need which needs to be addressed? So let us see that how does this piece of market work. So I have put in a 9-step marketing strategy process which helps you to scale your brand or your product to the next level, where either it helps you to acquire more customers or it helps you to raise the next level of funding. So first is define your target market, who your product is going to address to. What is the market need of this particular product? Who are your consumers? Define the marketing message, very important, because if your marketing message is not clearly articulated, it may lose resonance in your customer's mind. Third is choose suitable channel and method. Now, if you look at a lot of the luxury products or a lot of the ambient products are very successful because they use an alternate channel of positioning and they use a different method to reach out to their customer. For this, get a good lead management system. If your leads are not nurtured well, you will start bleeding because your marketing activity is going to cost you a lot of money. And if those leads are not getting converted, those are potential losses which one will endure during the entire journey. Fifth is nurturing needs and follow-up system. Now we need to have a strong nurturing level where today's customer, so today's lead may be our future customer. He will become a future customer only if we are continuously engaged and we create that brand resonance in the mind of the customer. Sixth is create a sales system to convert leads to customers, because it is very important that whatever leads you have generated through your marketing activity, you're converting them into customers, because that is where you start making your money. Seventh is define how to deliver the product and experience. Now, if you're setting up the entire experience factor, I would advise all our students to go to the nearest Maruti showroom and also go to the Nexa showroom. You will see how the same Maruti car is getting delivered and how an experience is being created from the same brand. Eighth is plan customer service and retention. So it's very important that if your customer service is not strong, you're not going to retain those customers and you will lose those customers to competition. Ninth is get referral business. Now, we all like referrals because if you're having a good referral scheme or where you are giving quality discounts to your existing customers, they in turn refer to future customers. This is a very good, strong proposition because it brings down your marketing cost and it will help you to improve your bottom lines and your profits. Now, for any marketing strategy, there are some very key elements, or I would tell the key marketing matrices, which is very important. Now, what are my targets? What is my cost per target? What are my cost per prospect? What is my cost per lead? What are my opportunity cost? How am I converting those leads into opportunity? And finally, how many leads have I closed into deals? Now, there is a percentage which is differing from industry to industry, but if we have a very keen eye towards this, our product which we're trying to develop will definitely see good tangible returns in the market. Now, the first thing is know who your customers are, because when you're trying to market or through a social media or through digital platforms, we need to understand that who my customer segment is so that we ensure that the product is marketed to the right customer. Know what your business is and why it benefit others, because your marketing message needs to communicate this very clearly. If you're not able to articulate your benefits, your customers are going to give you a miss. Third is you communicate your value in a consistent way. Now, if you look at Tata as a brand, Tata has been very consistent across their product portfolio lines, where they have been consistently doing the same thing again and again and helping the customers to know of how their entire ecosystem is very different. Fourth is you need to have a guide for your marketing plan and budget. It's very important that you stick to your marketing plan, you do not overspend so that your profit lines are maintained at a very definable level, which is already being set. Fifth is know what your success looks like. It's very important to visualize your success, because when you tend to market, you need to sell the success in the eyes of the customer. So if he is going to have a Dolo 650, the customer needs to be reassured. Any, let's say the vaccines, Covishield, Covaxin, it really determined that it is going to help you to become a successful person. It is help you going to recover from the coronavirus, which we all have been enduring. Sixth is you need to know how you stack up against competition. Now, we're in a very competitive world. By the time we come up with our product, you'll always have the typecast or the substitutes, all the alternates already in the market. So we need to know that what is the strength of our competition, what kind of products have they made, how is your product going to be better than what they're currently offering. So studying up your competition and their offerings is very crucial. Seventh is you exude professionalism. Nobody likes to deal with a company which is not professional. So one needs to ensure that your team which you're building needs to be a professional unit, and that helps you to gain a lot of confidence. One company which created a lot of revolution in this ecosystem was Thyrocare. which was into testing of thyroid. Professor Dr. Aryogeswamy Velumani created history by hiring freshers in the market using technology to scale the changing agent and win customer confidence. Today is more than 4,500 crore company, reaching and helping more and more people to come to the mainstream by identifying their diseases and helping them to resolve. So when we have got this, it's very important that why are we doing this? Your organization, current organization, if you do not follow the above steps, is going to be very disoriented, will not have one vision. Everyone will be working on a different tangent, not knowing what customer problem am I solving, not knowing what is my marketing budget, not knowing whether I'm getting returns or not. So a vision is very important to get everyone aligned on the same page. And if you have an aligned vision, your entire company will start looking like this. You follow in a very unified fashion, hitting out in the market, and customer will feel very aligned towards your vision. And that matters a lot because end of the day, the customer is the king. He is the one who's going to pay us our money to remain profitable in the business and see the light of the day. I would like to end, my entire presentation with this very important component on how do we create a learning organization. Because, there are certain ecosystems which is very important when we look at product design, that products have to be keeping on evolving to the next level. So you build a culture of innovation in your organization. You have better leaders who will own the entire ecosystem. You develop good human capital. So you treat your employees in a very nice fashion where the nurturing of them is happening. You build good systems and process, and you build physical infrastructure to cater to the existing demand. Because only then you build a very strong ecosystem which will allow you to remain profitable in the business and sustain in the business for a long term. So your company needs to be a learning organization and your team has to be a knowledge worker. Only such organizations are going to be profitable. They're going to sustain in this ecosystem and they will go to the next level and create history. With that, I would like to end with a quote from my role model, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. He says that life and time are the world's best teachers. Life teaches us to make the good use of time, and time teaches us the value of life. As pharmacy students, in fact, life is going to play a very important component in your lives. So whatever product designs you guys make or you guys are going to develop, I'm always available to help you out with whatever little knowledge I have to help you scale the market and bring a difference in the people's life. Thank you. Now I'm open to any questions or anything which they may have, which needs to be addressed. I'm more than happy to share whatever little knowledge I have in the subject.
Anushka?
Yeah.
Would you help us with the students with Prashant? I would like to answer.
Yes. Guys, please send in your questions in the chat box, or you all can raise your hands if you all have any questions.
No questions indicate two things. Either everybody has understood everything or nobody has understood anything and have done a very pathetic job.
So we have a question from Manasvi. What is the best way to choose ideas to prototype and design thinking?
I think the first way is to validate your idea. So if your idea is getting validated, then definitely you can also use a lot of online tools which are available for prototype design. Depending on the industry, your design thinking and prototyping will be very different. So if you go to a website called Mind Tools, you will see a lot of available resources and you can utilize that to develop your idea and your product.
Dwani has a question. How can we find investors for your idea?
So there are two ways you can do that. One is go and participate in competitions where startup ideas and startup competitions are there. Go and present your idea. You will either get government grants or government funding, or you will also get potential investors who are ready to back your idea. The second place is you approach private investors or HNIs who are there to back you, your angel investors. So once you get your first set of investors and you start seeing progress and delivering results, you will get better ones to back you.
So I think we're done with the questions now. Thank you so for addressing all our questions. And this is a small token of appreciation from our side. Someone should be sharing the screen. I think there's a technical glitch from the person who was supposed to share the screen. So it was a really informative session, and I'm sure the valuable knowledge that you provided will help us in our respective careers. Once again, I would like to thank Prashant sir for taking out the time from his busy schedule to enlighten us with knowledge. We look forward to following your path of success. I hope everyone enjoyed this session. IRC will continue to bring such content to you. Until then, stay safe and think out of the box. Thank you.
Thank you, Anushka. Thank you, Dr. Sandeep. Thank you, Varsha, for giving this opportunity